Hey there, Psych students. It's Mr. Mori here, coming to give you this week's video. This is going to be probably the only video that I make this week, unless it's brought to my attention that there needs to be another video made this week. So I'm going to go over what we're doing this week. It's just one assignment. Something you should have done today, which is Monday when I'm filming this, but you'll be watching it on Tuesday. So something you should have done yesterday on Monday is you should have selected a topic, okay? And I wanted you to do a little bit of research on the topic because just to make sure that that's the topic that you wanted to do, because a lot of times what happens is somebody starts to do research on a topic, like one of these serial killers. They find out it's too much for them to handle, and then they switch topics after they've already put all this work into it, and I don't want that to happen to you. So hopefully on Monday you were able to pick a topic out of this list of serial killers or this list of disorders. You can do a serial killer or psychological disorder that is not on this list, but it has to be specifically approved by me. So let's read the directions, because you guys are terrible at reading directions. Hence why I got like 3 emails yesterday of people who had already started the essay when I specifically said do not start the essay. I have not given you all of my requirements. Because this is an online essay, I'm changing it up a little bit. The purpose of this project is to apply what you have learned this semester about psychology and to explore a psychological disorder or one of the most bizarre and intriguing phenomena in human behavior, the serial killer. You will choose and research either a disorder or a serial killer from the lists below. You can get special permission to do another disorder or killer not listed, right? That's pretty basic. It's pretty simple instructions. It's pretty much what you should have done yesterday, is pick a topic and done a little bit of research so that you know that's what you want to do. We went through quite a few of these guys in the serial killer notes. Some worthy of note would be Joe Ball with the crocodiles, David Berkowitz, who I believe was the guy that thought the dog was possessed with basically Satan, Ted Bundy, Richard Chase, Jeffrey Dahmer, Albert Fish, John Wayne Gacy, Ed Gein, Ted Kaczynski, and Ed Kemper are some of the big ones that we went over in the notes. So yeah, just know that these guys are obviously very disturbing. We have our disorders that we went through in the class. I do want to say that this is very important. This is not a first-person essay. This is not something that I don't want to see the word I appear in the entire essay. I don't care if you are a gifted student or somebody who is, that requires accommodations. It is not a first-person essay. This is not a personal testimony essay. You're going to do research and you're going to write an essay, and that's that. It's just the way that it is. I have to teach you how to do this. A high school degree has to mean something, okay? So to be honest with you, I could have written this essay in the 7th grade because that's the way that they did school back then. The fact that I have kids in a senior, junior class that can't write a complete sentence and are still going to somehow get a high school diploma is absolutely unfathomable to me. I don't understand. It drives me nuts. But anyway, No Child Left Behind is a disgrace. Anyway, it sounds nice on paper, but it really just isn't. And I don't think it really does a lot of service to you guys either. But I digress. So if you choose the serial killer direction, step 1 is to pick the serial killer. Step 2 is to write a 5-paragraph essay. The person that I got this project from, which is just for a junior level psychology class, and their requirements are a 2-page single-spaced essay. That's just to tell you how low our standards are here. On what exactly, because if it was up to me, you'd be writing a 5-page essay, because that's what a senior in high school should be able to do. You're going to be writing those on your freshman year of college. So, I don't know. But Anyway, we have to make it 5 paragraph, which is going to be about a page and a half, double spaced probably. And for grading purposes, I don't mind that, but just know if you do plan on going to college, you probably want to know how to write a 5-page essay, because they're not going to teach you in college, and they're just going to expect you to know it. And your public education is not teaching you that, unfortunately. But anyway, I digress. You can tell that I feel very passionately about this. So write a 5-paragraph essay, because that is, we're going to treat you like a 7th grader. We're going to have you do the bare minimum here. Your first paragraph needs to have hook, something to draw people's attention. Doing a serial killer, I am sure that there is some kind of a fact or quote that you can get about a serial killer that would draw somebody's attention. I don't think you're going to struggle to find a hook. Your second sentence, you will explain the hook and why it's relevant. You will have your thesis set up, meaning you will set up your thesis, and then you will have your thesis. In a social science essay, you always put the thesis last in the first paragraph. I know that's a little bit different than English, but in social studies, which is what this is, that is what you do. Your first body paragraph, or paragraph 2, will be biological information. And you don't have to answer all these questions. These are recommendations. I would ask that you follow this paragraph structure, but you don't necessarily have to answer all of these questions about the serial killer. They might not even have some of these things. So part 1 will contain general information about the killer you are researching and his or her life and upbringing, his or her crimes and trial and sentencing. You are not required to answer all the questions below, as I said. They are intended to be guidelines, right? So what was his, her childhood like? Did childhood behavior reflect problems in the future, like, torturing animals as a kid? What was his, her adult life like? Did he, she finish high school or college? Did they get married? Did they have children? Were they a lone wolf? Like what kind of person were they? Was he, she ever diagnosed with a mental disorder? Did he or she ever receive treatment? Oh, look, Mimi's here. So then you'd go on to paragraph 2, body paragraph 2, total paragraph 3, criminal activity. Part 2 will contain general information about the killer's crimes, his and her trial sentencing. Again, these are more like guidelines. They're not required questions, but I would definitely follow this structure. What was the nature of the crime? What was the time span of the crime? How many victims? Did the killer take souvenirs, leave a signature? What was his or her behavior like when caught? Was he or she found capable to withstand trial, meaning were they insane or sane? If they were sane, they were capable to withstand trial. If they're insane, then you can't try them because they didn't know what they were doing was wrong. What evidence was used at the trial? Forensic evidence, witness, what happened at the trial? What was he, she charged with and sentenced to, meaning their punishment? And is he or she still alive? I know for a fact that the Ed Gein documentary, not the movie on Netflix, answers all of, not Ed Gein, Ted Bundy documentary on Netflix answers all of those questions. And I'm sure that a lot of these guys, I don't actually think a lot of this information would be that hard to find. Your last body paragraph would be characterizing the serial killer. Determine which category the killer fits into and give specific examples to support your choice. Organize, identify, like were they a visionary, a missionary, the stuff that we went over in the notes. So visionary serial killers, I'll let you go through that. You're basically deciding what type of serial killer they are, and you're going to explain what that type of serial killer category is, what makes them that way, and you're going to justify your diagnosis of that. And so that's going to be your third body paragraph, your fourth paragraph total. Your fifth paragraph, you're going to summarize the essay and restate the thesis. It's your classical, regular conclusion paragraph, All sources must be referenced alphabetically in the works cited page. Sources must be that's one thing I'm going to change here. Whenever we would do it in class, I was going to have you do in-text citations, but I'm not going to have you do that because it would be way too hard for me to teach you that without me physically being there. It's a very confusing, it seems very confusing at first, but it requires explanation for it to not seem confusing, and that would be really hard to do without me being able to gauge your facial reactions and things like that. So we're not going to do in-text citations, but you are still going to do an alphabetical works cited page, and I will show you how to do that at the end of this video. If you're going to do a psychological disorder, you're going to write a 5-paragraph essay on said disorder. Your intro paragraph, sentence 1, will be a hook, maybe a statistic or a testimony. Sentence 2 through 4 will define the disorder and expand on that definition. And your 5th sentence will be your thesis. Again, a thesis is a statement, all right? Your thesis kind of outlines the rest of the essay, like schizophrenia is a disorder that has biological factors, it has unique symptoms, and unique treatments, period. That's a statement, and it's outlining exactly what you're going to talk about in your 3 body paragraphs, all right? So the first body paragraph should be the cause of the disorder and the risk factors in getting the disorder. No matter what level of student you are, gifted or accommodations, you do still need to follow this basic structure. If you are doing accommodations, I can think of 2 people specifically where I'm only going to require 3 sentences per paragraph, but you still have to do the essay. Like, you're still going to have to tell me what the causes of the disorder are. You're still going to have to do that research. You just don't have to say it in so many sentences. Everybody else, though, it is a 5-sentence per paragraph minimum, except for, well, you can even see in the intro paragraph, it is 5 sentences. All right, so in the first body paragraph, you're going to spend 1 sentence to introduce the topic, 3 sentences to discuss the subject of that body paragraph, and then the 5th sentence to transition into the next body paragraph. Again, this is like 7th grade level stuff. Regardless if you knew how to do that in 7th grade, I knew how to do that in 7th grade, and I was in special ed. So there really is no excuse. You should know how to write. No problem. Not to say if you don't, even if you're not going to college, being able to write a 5-paragraph essay teaches you a lot of discipline and writing skills that you're going to need in just, maybe not everyday life, but you're going to need it in life. Unless you plan on working at McDonald's your whole life. Which, in case, I feel sorry for you, because fast food is terrible. It's terrible. It's not meant for a career because it's miserable. I kind of laugh. There's all these people going when they're going to McDonald's during the quarantine, during the coronavirus stuff, and I'm like, I don't think I really trust the employees of McDonald's to wear gloves, to practice sanitation, to wear masks, and to prevent me from getting the coronavirus. So my wife and I, we have not gotten any fast food. We did go to Texas Roadhouse, and that place is organized. They know what they're doing. Like, they got it down pat. You drive up, they say you picking an order up, you order online, and they say go to parking spot 1 or 2, and someone comes out with your order, and that's it. You pay online, it's done. It's pretty out. They're all wearing gloves and masks. I'm like, Texas Roadhouse knows what's up. But anyway, paragraph 2, body paragraph 2, paragraph 3 total will be symptoms of the disorder and what it is like living with the disorder. Have testimonies and statistics to support your claims. Your 3rd body paragraph, treatments for the disorder. There are more than one for each disorder to spend time looking at different approaches for treatment and success rate of those treatments. You can do medical, like medicine, drug treatments, and you could also spend time talking about the preferred method of therapy, non-psychoactive drug treatments for the disorder. And then your conclusion paragraph, You'll summarize the essay by answering some of these questions. It doesn't necessarily have to be all of them. They're just suggestions. Why is this information important to the world today? How can this impact others? Why is it so important that people know this? How can people use this information? Then address any arguments against what you're stating, if any, and then restate your thesis and final explanation of the thesis. And then again, it talks about a works cited page. That being said, all of your sources, none of them can be .com. No .coms. No personal testimonies from yourself. That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to make an academic document. You might have the disorder, but that doesn't mean that you know about it, if that makes sense. You might think you know about it, but do not use personal testimony. Do not. We just want to avoid that. We're trying to write an academic paper, not a journal entry here. Okay, this is going to be an essay. Now, the second part of this that I want to talk about is the formatting of the essay. This is the format that, people, professors in college are going to expect this format. Okay, and I want you to pay attention very closely, because this is not that hard. A monkey could do this, and yet somehow students get it wrong. It is so easy. Okay, you do Times New Roman font, size 12. And in Google Docs, it's not that hard to figure that part out either. You type in your name, you hit enter. You type in the class name, you hit enter. You type in the teacher or the professor's name. And if it is a professor, you definitely want to put prof. And if they're a doctor, you definitely want to put dr. All right, you want to be respectful. I, however, am not a professor, so you just put Mr. Mori. And then you put the date, which when I made this, it was 2017, 3 years ago. Then your title is going to be centered, right? You're going to hit the center, right? And you're just going to type a very simple you're going to type a very simple title, okay? Notice that the font is the same size as everything else. Notice that it is not underlined, it is not bolded, it is the exact same as the rest of the essay, except that it is in the middle and that each letter is capitalized. That is what I want. That is what your college professors are going to want. I'm supposed to prepare you for college with a 5-paragraph essay somehow, but I can still teach you the proper format, okay? Then your essay is going to be double spaced. If you are in Microsoft Word, if you've already written your essay, you can just highlight it all. Go to design, or no, actually layout, my bad. You'll go down to paragraph, and you'll click double. And then you'll hit OK. And it will make it look double spaced. Double spaced, and believe it or not, I get this very often, does not mean that you click the space bar twice before in between each word. You see some things as a teacher. You see some things. Now, let's see here. I mean, Google Docs is virtually very similar. Let me see if I can get Google Doc up here. Well, first we want to make sure that, Arial size 11 is fine as well. That's the only other one that is acceptable. But I personally prefer Times New Roman, and you probably want to do whatever your teacher prefers. Just saying. Okay. Okay. Go back over here. You hit tab, that tab button, it's labeled tab, it's a miracle worker. You don't hit the space bar 5 times, that's stupid. Okay, you seriously, you just hit the tab button at the beginning of each paragraph. What did I just do? Okay, and you begin writing. Now, let's say, well, let's just make a fake paragraph here. Tab. Okay. So our sample paragraph there. It's not the correct sentence. I'm just trying to show you the format here. And then you'd go into format, line spacing, and you'd click double. And that's all it is. That is all it is. It is that simple. Okay, so this is what your essay should look like. If your essay does not look like, and not necessarily the words specifically, but just like the way it looks, then you're going to get points taken off. This is the way it needs to look. It is not that hard to do this. Okay? It's very simple. Okay, then your works cited page needs to be on its own unique page. Things need to be in alphabetical order. Now, if you are someone you're a collaborative student, you just need to tell me what your sources are. You don't have to do all this fancy stuff here. But everybody else, you're going to have to go in and do this, all right? And yes, this video is going to be a little bit longer, but that's because I'm going through really everything you need for the entire week. And so hopefully you're being responsible and you're watching it all the way through because you are not a barbarian. Let's see. It's night. That's where you're gonna go. You're gonna click the website. It's gonna bring you there. Now you're gonna do MLA purely because that is the easiest and most simple form of sourcing. But to be completely honest with you, when you get to college, unless you are an English major, you're probably going to end up learning APA, which they will teach you, and you're actually probably never going to use MLA in your entire life, unless you plan on being an English major. I used APA as an education major, and I used Chicago as a history major as well. So, I mean, we're not going to get into all that, but there's different rules for different styles. No, I don't understand why there are different styles or what the point of it is. At least the different styles. I understand why we have the sourcing, because you need to give credit to the ideas that are not your own, because you can't just steal. I do want to emphasize, if you do not source your sources correctly in college, you will flunk the course immediately. And if it is severe enough, they will kick you out of the university. It's called academic suicide, so don't do it. Do not ever, ever copy and paste something and not give credit and say, oh, that's a quote. Okay? You can even if you paraphrase something, it still needs to be sourced. All right? So if I use the website for that we use for our worksheets. Man, I'm like really tired. If we use the worksheets, the place that I got the worksheet from the last week, which is right here. All right, we want to source that. Okay. Yay, COVID-19. Right. Awesome. Can't escape it anywhere. This is where I got the worksheet from. This is the place that you use to fill out the answers for the schizophrenia assignment, right? So if you use this at all, you have to source it. You have to tell me that you use that, because you don't know these statistics off the top of your head. You didn't do them. So you need to source them, okay? This isn't a book. If you have your textbook, I mean, you can totally, which you don't, you can totally use that. There is a way to source notes on here. It'd probably be lecture or speech. But yeah, this is going to be a web page, I believe. So we don't actually have an author on here, I don't believe. Yeah, we do have the title, right? So the website title is the National Institute of Mental Health. And something to note about knightcite, knightcite's great and it's free and it's very helpful. This will save your butt in college because a lot of professors will expect you to be able to do this sort of thing just by hand. And, you know, Cite Baby or whatever it's called is nice and everything, but it's not free and it's not actually all that trustworthy. The only negative to this is that if you misspell something in this, it will come out misspelled. Document title is, schizophrenia. Publisher is the NIMH. Date published. I believe it said that it was last updated. Go away. That it was last updated February 2016. February 2016. What the? 2016. There we go. URL, is the URL too long to cite? No. Yes, it does have a URL. Just come over here. You click copy. You go over here. You hit paste. Bada bang, bada boom. Do we have the editor? No. So you leave it blank. If you don't have the information, you leave it blank. No, we did not find out in a database. We do have the date that we accessed it, which is today. And then you just click submit. It's a miracle. It does it for you. Then and notice the format here. Okay? Notice how the second line is indented. So you just copy that. You bring it over to your works cited. Yeah. And you hit paste. And actually, that was Control V. Let's do it. Let's do it this way. Now notice it's not going to do what you see up here on its own. You hit enter and then tab. Everything past the first line of the entry has to be indented like this, right? I'm going to delete this old one. Also notice that it is alphabetical. That is what I expect. You need at least 3 sources. They cannot be .coms. None whatsoever. It cannot be your own personal testimony. If you have a relative that has a disorder or, I don't know, knew the serial killer or was alive whenever the case was going on, you could theoretically interview them and use them as a source. There is a way to do that on here. Personal interview. So you just click personal interview and you fill out this information and it does it for you. So in summary, you're writing a 5-paragraph essay on either disorder or a serial killer. You are answering the questions and you're following the format that I gave you. You will be graded on your loyalty to this format, on your ability to garner sources, and on your ability to not just steal information. So let me kind of go over something to finish up here. I think it's on the vocab cookie PowerPoint. All the vocab cookies. I think it's at the bottom. Yeah, there is. All right. So there's a difference between paraphrasing and quoting. And although I'm not going to have you do in-text citations, though if you wanted to impress me, you could totally do that. So all an in-text citation is it's specifically in the essay, you know, So if you had, oh gosh, this is what I'm talking about. I don't want to have to explain this online. You don't have to do in-text citations, but just real briefly if you want to impress me. So if I had schizophrenia and I referenced this specific source at this point in the essay, right, I would do it as you see here, right? Schizophrenia can prevent a person from functioning in everyday life. However, it is not a common disorder amongst the general population. It's not a quote. It's a paraphrase. I still got that information from the website, and I have to give them credit. I don't know this definition off the top of my head. It's not my information. I'm getting it from somewhere else. Notice the period is after this. Okay, that's very important. So that's exactly what you see here, right? You know, if we were quoting Shakespeare, you'd do the quote, and then you'd put the source, this is the page number that it's from, you know, in the parentheses and period. If you're paraphrasing, which is the whole point that I'm doing this, because again, you don't have to do in-text citations unless you're wanting to impress me. You would, a paraphrase is taking what's being said and rewording it in a way that is unique. That doesn't mean you change 3 or 4 words. It means that you restructure the sentence. Oh my gosh, there's a stink bug. I'm gonna have to edit this. Time to die, bug. Well, my cats will eat it. So even Henry here knows how to do in-text citations because that's how I raise him, okay? He knows what a paraphrase is. Isn't that right? So, I mean, you don't have to do the in-text citations, but I do expect you to not just copy and paste things, and if you do, it needs to be a quote. And you can't quote more than a sentence at a time, otherwise you're not writing the essay, okay? So you can paraphrase, and I don't expect you to do the in-text citation, but just understand that in, maybe not for like a 2-page essay in college, but for a lot of your essays in college, they're going to expect you to do your in-text citations. So there's a little example. You can kind of pause it to see the difference in paraphrasing. Here's a quote, right? Although schizophrenia is not as common as the other mental disorders, the symptoms can be very disabling, you know, and you'd actually probably put a little, let's fix that. Actually probably put that there. But again, you don't have to do in-text citations. This is a paraphrasing. So this is a paraphrasing of this exact quote right here. So this is a good paraphrase. So the quote is, although schizophrenia is not as common as other mental disorders, the symptoms can be very disabling. The paraphrase of that would be, schizophrenia can prevent a person from functioning in everyday life. However, it is not a common disorder amongst the general population. Notice the period is over here, but again, you don't have to do that. So yeah, that's paraphrasing. But I'm still getting that information from this website, so I want to give them credit because that's not my original idea. All right, that is the essay. That is what we are doing. That is the job, and this is Henry. I call him the Bungaloo. You can't really see, but he is very fat. This outfit kind of hides it.
A 9-month outfit.
It's a 9-month outfit, but he's only 4 months old. All right, well, that is this week's video. That is the explanation of the essay that you will do. Unless I need to make another video to explain things, this will be the only video for this week. I would suggest that on today, which will be Tuesday when you see this, I would suggest getting your research done, getting all the information you need for the whole essay. You know, you have the research you need, you know where you're going to put the research and what paragraph, you know, you've kind of created an outline for yourself. An outline on an essay is very helpful. You can say what specific bit of research you're going to use in each sentence and just kind of outline the essay. On Wednesday, I would create your rough draft And that reminds me, there actually is another part that I would probably put in this. I would write the first draft, and then on Thursday I would have other people read it and edit it and review it. And there's actually this free thing you can use, which is very useful. Okay, it's called Grammarly. You've probably seen advertisements for it on YouTube and such. You can just create an account and you can just copy and paste your essay. You can even just use your Google account. You don't have to pay money. There is an option for you to get a higher tier, but it's not necessary. And unless you're like a writer like me, I would probably suggest that you don't need that higher one, right? So you can, let's take our essay here, and I'm sure it's going to absolutely shred me because this isn't, if you've noticed, the words on this are not an actual essay. And it will tell you, it's calculating the errors, but it will show you a lot of the errors and things, right? Click it and we'll do it for you, and then you can export it at the end. That's a great way to edit and find grammatical errors and to learn a lot about grammar as well. It tells you your score. It's a very nice free software that you should use. You can even actually download it to where you can hook it up to your email so that it does like Grammarly checks on all your emails. I use it for writing my books, so it's very useful. It's very awesome. That is the end of the video. Sorry to psych you out there. But so yeah, I would be editing it in Grammarly, having maybe a parent or somebody, an older sibling or someone that's good with grammar, look it over, and then when you submit it to me on Friday, then, that's when it's due. So by the end of the week, you should have your essay completed and turned into me. You can forward it on email. That's going to be my preferred method of turning it in, is going to be you forwarding it through email or sending it to me through email. There's not going to probably be a Canvas place to turn it in. That'll take me a while to grade. On Monday and Tuesday of next week, you're going to be studying and then taking the Unit 4 test, right? Henry's excited about that. And then we're going to start the Batman stuff. I'm still thinking about how exactly I'm going to work that out, but we will find a way to do it somehow. So take care of yourselves. Hope you had a good spring break. Do a good job on this essay. It's 100 points. So do a good job. Listen to my directions. Be better than just, do it. Just be better. Do it. Just do it, Nike.